Laboratory Secrets in Pokemon Amber, episode
Hello
17.
everyone, and welcome to episode
this
17.
week.
I'm Gabe, and
So,
today we'll be
it'll be easier
uncovering
for
some
me to edit, at
secrets of
least.
the Paleon region. But first, here's a quick recap. In the last
Previously
episode,
on Pokemon
you made
Amber.
it to Credit Cliff and cleared out the Team Arc camp. You defeated their leader. She did escape, but not before pointing you towards Route 9.
And then we decided we would go to Route 9. I'm interested to see more about the evil group, but we gotta focus on the side stuff. At the end of the day, this is all about showing off new
Leaving
Pokemon,
Tri-Town,
right?
you enter this new route. The desert sands
every
fade
fan
into
region to an
grasslands,
extent.
and then into a sudden dense jungle. Looking through the thick foliage, you spy Cortoli, Takashuru, Azdazkite, Jerno, and two familiar forms.
Oh?
Time to knock out the final first stage primal form.
Oh boy,
Little
Tyrant.
I knew exactly what I wanted to do with this little guy right away. It just had to go fluffy. You know, we know that adult Tyrannosaurus likely lost most or all of their feathers as they grew up, but this little hatchling
Which is something S-Code Knight told me about, and I'm just like,
other
oh,
than the
thank
fluff,
God,
you know,
those
I did
memes
get
about
rid
the
of its
T-Rex
fangs
being
just to give it
an
a slightly
actual
more
chicken is just a
bird-like
joke.
Look,
Okay.
although it's small. Color-wise,
I know
could
life
basically
is
do
it would be more
It's losing
realistic
its
and
rock
stuff,
typing
but
and will
I
be
don't want to think the
mono
T-Rex is
dragon.
a giant
I
chicken.
mean, I guess
That's
the
lame.
colors kind of hint at the secondary typing.
Yes,
it gets
life
when
is
it
lame,
evolves.
but still.
If you have a guess at what that is, let me know in the comments below. I'll confirm if you get it right. Colors came together easy, and of course, the shiny ended up being the normal Tyrant's colors.
Naturally.
Okay, this is Primal
This
Tyrant.
looks like it was the easiest to draw
Royal
by the looks
Air
of it.
Pokemon. This correctly restored Pokemon was much
Looks
fuzzier
a
than
little
researchers were
emu-y,
expecting.
if that makes
Primal
sense.
Tyrant is able to live in a wide range of climates due to its protective feathering. Though they are quite cuddly, they still sport an incredibly fiery temper. When enraged, they sometimes spout steam from their noses. Its ability is Fluffy, because it's
Still
very
pure
fluffy,
dragon.
and that reduces damage from
Wait,
contact
pure
moves by
dragon. It was a
50%,
dragon
but
rock in the
doubles the
original.
damage they take from fire type attacks. And you can see them stomping angrily through the trees. But they are far too small to intimidate the next Pokemon who crosses your path.
Oh?
Not only did
What
we
the heck,
finish up the first
Bastiodon?
stage designs, but we get to
I'm
introduce
redoing him
our
from the
first
ground
fossil
up,
evolution.
basically.
And who needed more love than poor Bastiodon? Nobody, that's who. So
Yeah,
let's
this is
see
just
if
so
we can
much
make
better
this
just looking
design
at
just
the
a tad
outline,
more
right?
appealing. First and foremost,
It's got
the original
handlebars.
design strayed a bit too far
This thing
from
lost to
its
Gligar in the
Ceratopsian
anime because
inspiration,
Gligar
and
grabbed
I want
onto its
this to be
handlebars and
more
used fire
recognizable at
fang
first
the,
glance.
well,
While
face.
pulling that nose
Plate
out
thing.
a
You get
bunch
the idea.
and giving it a nice long horn, along with curving the eyebrow horns forward as well. I mean, those changes alone let this read as a real Ceratopsian. You know, it's not really any specific species. It's kind of a mix of like a Taurosaur and a Triceratops.
Yeah, that's
Other
fine.
Things thrown in
Mix
there.
up a little bit.
But I think it works. Colors were easy since it's also getting the steel type, so just throwing some
Keeping
grays
the
in there
steel
was
type,
easy
nice.
enough. But let's take a look at Primal Bastiodon. The
I like it
shield
so much better than the
Pokemon.
original.
This heavily armored Pokemon has absorbed enough minerals from the earth
Then again,
to
that's
harden
because
its
my favorite
horns
dinosaur is the
into steel.
Triceratops, so I'm kind of
Primal
biased.
Bastiodon are incredibly protective of not only Shieldon, but all small Pokemon. Though quite intimidating, they can still be seen happily playing and rolling around in sand dunes. Its ability is Charger, so taking super effective damage raises its speed
Whoa,
greatly.
okay,
And
that's
I'm really
a kind
happy
of cool
with this
ability.
design. Oh, and moving forward,
I don't know if you're taking
I'm
super
also
effective damage.
excited
You're probably
for the
dead
rest
by
of
then,
the second
but
stage
so you
fossil
know,
designs,
maybe
as
it
I'll
looks
be
you
able
by
to,
two
continue to
stages.
stretch those designs a little bit
Because
further
one
from
stage
the
is like
base
that's not
designs.
cutting it for almost death.
Continuing past this big, bulky Pokemon,
Well, then again,
the path
if you're like
winds
facing a
deeper
level
and
5
deeper into the jungle.
Chimchar, for
You
example,
often
and you're like level
find
70 something,
large, felled trees and eroded
it was over before
boulders
the game was
blocking
written for
the
the
main
start.
route, forcing you to explore the small, winding paths to continue west. While leaping between boulders to cross a raging river, you spot a
Boulder
glimmer
as in
of
actual
a
rocks or
man-made
the
structure
Pokemon?
atop a roaring waterfall. The terrain is unstable, and the Pokemon are particularly aggressive here, but eventually you make your way
Probably
all the way
higher
to the
level
top.
than normal.
The building is abandoned
Not
and
too high, but
overgrown
higher.
with flowing vegetation. It is similar to the other pop-up research buildings around the Alien region, but it's older.
Is this like in Jurassic World where they found the original park entrance?
And when you step inside, weak lighting flickers on.
Ooh.
Exploring the building's depth, you find useful items and clues that this building is easily a couple decades older than all the other operations in the Paleon region.
I see.
You hear rustling sounds coming from deeper in the building, and peeking around a corner, you spot your friend Mal, leisurely exploring.
What are you doing here?
They spot you, smile, and wave you over.
Hey! There you are. I was hoping that you'd be heading down this route too. Can you believe this place? I think it's the original lab for when Professor Ginkgo first arrived in the Paleon region.
Interesting, if true.
I was just getting these old computers running again, and it looks like there are some recordings from back then.
Mal types a bit on a keyboard, and a series of corrupted video files begin to play on a large, cracked screen.
We're all set up here on Paleon Island. It's just the two of us for now, but I am hopeful that once our research begins, we will be able to gain funding for increase our operations. This island is covered in exposed fossils.
What the heck?
But the strange thing is why this whole island is a barren wasteland. Nothing is living or growing anywhere. What must have happened here? I suspect that this island has been deserted ever since ancient times.
They worked together at one point.
Professor Ginkgo and Psycad used to work together? I can't believe she hasn't mentioned that. It's so strange to think that when they first arrived, there was no life anywhere in the Paleon region.
And then they all came.
I wonder why that is.
They must have had something to do with it, obviously. This is all
We've discovered something amazing. Found two wholly unknown and wonderful.
But stop cutting off the best parts. Legendary.
Both seem to in a dormant state.
I feel like I'm reading an SCP file from the old days. 90% redacted because the writer didn't want to explain any of this stuff.
Possibilities are endless.
Well, Professor Ginkgo and Psycad must have discovered something truly extraordinary if it let them breathe new life into all of the Paleon region. That must be how they brought back the fossil Pokemon without any impurities. I'm gonna stay here and see if I can replicate any of their old work, unfortunately.
I wouldn't. Sounds like they were. Well, I don't want to say playing God so soon, but.
A bit on the computer until a red screen stops them.
Access denied.
It seems as though progress can only be made by presenting a Pokedex that has registered a certain number of Pokemon.
Are you kidding me?
Unfortunately, catching Pokemon isn't really my thing. So maybe if you could continue filling up your decks and then just come back.
What sense does this make?
We'll be able
it
to
makes video game sense.
Truly
Damn it!
Legendary.
Your Pokedex isn't filled enough to help them with the main computer terminal that they're
Must
working
catch
at
all 151.
So you wander around the lab and find different cabinets,
including the legendary you got unlocked or beat by getting here.
You are able to open some and retrieve some miscellaneous useful items. You do come across a research area where 3 Pokemon eggs are frozen in cryogenic tubes.
Interesting.
Some old note explains that these are the initial attempts to revive Cactamo, Fleetwee, and Sailil.
Huh?
A Pokéseal is asking for 30 new Pokemon species to be registered to it for each egg that you wish to take. Realistically, you would need to stop back here multiple times to get all the eggs, but for now, we'll say that you're able to grab all 3. You let Mal know that you'll be returning as soon as your Pokédex can get them into the main research computer, and you leave the building to continue west. The route is still difficult to traverse, and your Pokemon are quite exhausted by the time you reach the gate to Ordo Outpost.
And we're back where we started.
But before you enter, it seems that your Chippet put in a lot of work and is ready to evolve.
Joke's on you, you're not in my party anymore.
I know that a couple of you have been wondering when little Chippet would finally evolve.
I was starting to forget it existed, to be honest.
The theming of stone tools. We're going to have this design showcase the process of striking off bits of stone to create an edge. This is particularly fun, as it lends the design to a bit of asymmetry. You don't usually see a ton of that in Pokemon design, so it's nice to have an excuse to try it out. I wanted to have it still feel kind of awkward, so the lopsided arms and pose help communicate that.
Yeah.
You may also notice that the rock face has little eyelash lines on it, and I'll let you know that's because when it evolves, it will become a more feminine design.
Oh.
It will become our obligatory waifu-mon for the Palean region.
The Rock?
They're usually grass or
Oh,
psychic
change the
type,
page.
but
Yeah.
I thought it would be a fun design challenge to make it.
It's a change
Part
it from the
rock
grass and psychic.
Anyway,
I'll give you that
back
one.
to this little design. Colors went together well, and here is.
I was gonna make a
Fractip,
joke to
the
be like,
shattered
this way
Pokemon.
no one would be interested
This
in it, and
Pokemon
then I
has
remembered
learned
the
how to
internet
break off
is like,
large
there's
pieces
something
of
for
its body
everyone.
to leave itself
For
with
better or
extremely
worse.
sharp edges. Fractip are confident fighters, though they must
The
be
internet is the
careful,
definition
as
of,
they are
there's
still
something for
incredibly
everyone.
brittle. Fractip train regularly in hopes of hardening their weak bodies. Its ability remains sharp armor, so that means that physical attacks lower the defense but greatly increase its attack. Little Fractip is excited to have evolved, and together you head into Ordo Outpost, where you know Beth, the fighting type head researcher, is waiting for you. But that's
I'm
for
back.
the next episode. Thank you all so much for watching, and please leave a like if you enjoyed this video.
I found this one
As
very
always, I'd love to
interesting
hear your
because
thoughts
I was
on the
thinking
new Pokemon
like,
in today's episode down in the comments
I
below.
figured the story was gonna be
A huge
kind
thank
of like,
you to Aaron, Vanessa,
I'm not gonna say
and
doesn't
our newest
exist, but a
voice,
bit more
vlogging with Gipster.
chilled. I
He
guess
has
you
his
could say.
own Pokemon channel that I'll put a link to down in
Like,
the
you know,
description. So be
It's a
sure to check
Pokemon
that
game,
out.
so the story's kind of
With
lacking.
that,
It's like,
I'll
that's
see you in
okay. It's a
episode
Pokemon
18.
thing. I'm not
Bye.
really focusing on the story after all. Although the Fakemon stuff tends to... No, I'm not going to say it's always better than Game Freak, but, you know. Well, like, because, like, Philosopher and, well, there have been some, but let's focus on the main thing anyway. What's interesting, I really wish, like, 80% of the important stuff was in static, but I understand why they do that, because if we just told you all the information now, the story would be over. Well, maybe not over, but we'd be jumping right to the end game, you know? But it's still like, damn it, dude, stop cutting at the interesting parts. But you'll make sure to keep this word involved just fine. Ugh. It is interesting that they used to be researching powers. I guess there was some sort of, like, debate or something. Like, maybe it was just, like, I don't think we should bring these fossil Pokemon back. Why do? Why don't? Let's fight about it and have a falling out. Or maybe the, I was going to call it the leader thought it was a good idea. Maybe, like, harness the power of the legendaries to take over the world or something. I don't know. Take over the region. But failed. Or something, or maybe they're trying to harness some sort of power in order to do so when those floating stones are involved somehow. It might tie into legendary in some regard. It is interesting that this entire region, or at least where they were, was a wasteland, and now where it is like the most heavily shrubbed area there could be. It's like something happened, clearly. Life just sprung up. It's like, I know oases exist in deserts, but a desert is still a lack of anything. So, yeah. Although the North and South Pole are considered deserts, technically. But the point is just like something clearly happened. I don't know what. Maybe there was some playing Arceus, but I can't prove anything yet. I can't jump to conclusions. This isn't no freaking I blanked on the name. The scientist guy from Philosopher. At least not yet. Well, even though that was Roxy in the end, spoiler, but still. Anyway, yeah, interesting developments in the story. I wish I could see more where it was going today. And some cool new Pokemon with some cool new evolutions. That's important as well. Bastardon got improved. The new Chipit is good. And the Tyrant is adorable. So, yeah. Interesting. I'd be interested to see where it goes next. And we can see where it goes next time. Goodbye.